Welcome to the Post-Purchase Pro podcast.
This is the only podcast that dives deep into post-purchase marketing to help Amazon sellers increase sales, ranking, reviews, and profits. It's everything that happens after the initial sale that makes a difference. We call this the back end.
And I know you're going to beat me to the punch, aren't you, Seth? How's it going?
Sean, I let you have first word today because I know you're excited for this one. So go ahead.
I am. This is more exciting than what my grandpapa used to say, a barrel full of monkeys. Now, I've never seen a barrel full of monkeys, but we have a special guest that I'm going to introduce you to today. And before I get too far ahead of myself, Seth, it's not, I travel. I do like 25, 30 events a year, speaking and sharing. And there's one single type of event that really stands out above everything else. And you'll find out why in just a second. We're going to introduce you to what's known as a seller Barcamp. It's a strange word for us here in the U.S., but the Barcamp is taking the industry by storm in Europe, and that's why I want to introduce you to a very special guest by the name of Timo Bach. Timo, thank you for joining us today.
Hi, very, very nice to meet you. Yeah, I'm very, very excited to be talking about the seller Barcamp, which was invented in the United States. So, but it's not been popular for the US e-commerce community, but it's not even a European invention that's becoming popular in Europe.
So, Timo, if you don't mind, break this down for me. How does Seller Barcamp work?
Yeah, so we've been doing this, I think, 15 times now in Germany, and I'm very excited that you'll be joining us in Frankfort in about 6 weeks. And the way it works is that sellers attend the event and they create the agenda. So there are no paid speakers or even any pre-booked speakers. It's just sellers. Of course, service providers, they may also attend. And the way it works is that everybody who wants to hold a session, they can pitch their session in the beginning. So the first hour, people are creating the agenda. And now the difference is that you have people creating sessions that are not incentivized to be talking at conferences, because usually when you go to a conference, the speakers are people who have an incentive to be speaking in front of sellers. So typically it's consultants, it's tool providers, and anything like that. They either they paid for it or they indirectly paid for it because they paid for sponsoring. And it's a bunch of commercials. Some of course are very valuable, some are not, but the sellers themselves, they make the best content. It's not the most polished presentation that they make. Because some of them will just go in and say something like, "Oh, I'm having a hard time getting reviews," or something like that. And right. I've tried different things, but I'm open to do new things. Okay. I'm interested in that. And then a bunch of sellers who are interested in the topic would join, and they would tell you things. Maybe they're not even TOS compliant. Maybe they are. I don't know. We don't record all of the sessions, but. They will, it's not the kind of things like usually when somebody talks about how to get reviews, it's probably somebody who wants to tell you reviews, right? And that's why they talk about it. So it's this kind of format, and it's very popular in Germany. And we've done it in English before, and we do it again. So very much looking for English English speaking attendees. That's another perspective as well. So that's
sure. That's okay. All right. So if I'm hearing you right, then the big thing that makes this different from other events, and I'm sorry, I had no idea this was created in the U.S., but instead of just force feeding attendees the content that you assume they want to hear, you're allowing the actual speakers or presenters or even the audience to say, "Hey, this is what I know. Here's how this can benefit you. If you're interested in hearing this talk, then vote for me." And then you'll do a breakout room depending on how popular that particular talk is. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So we have, maybe four different breakout rooms, and we have one main stage, and there are no speakers or attendees, or there's no differentiation between those two groups. I mean, it's just everybody's an attendee, and any attendee can can become a speaker or can hold a session, right? And the format it could differ. So let's say somebody who's used to giving talks, somebody who's known in the industry, they give talks all the time, right? They can hold a talk, right? And they, if it's popular, they get the main stage. I mean, there's a vote, like how many people are interested in that, but it's, we don't do it like to make people feel bad if it's not, popular or something. We just do it so we allocate them the right kind of room, if it's very, very special interest topic, maybe only 3 people, 5 people are interested, but it's, they're exactly into that. So that's why we need to know, if they get small or big room. But the typical speakers who give like talks, they go there, and then you have, this other kind of content where people are, trying to solve a problem, and they have 1 hour time. And then after 1 hour, we ring the bell, everybody needs to go out, and then the new sessions start. And there's a board, where we tell you what time, what session, and you have to pick. That's the bad thing though, because like there are 4 different sessions running in parallel. You have to pick one. I mean, so some people have like different experiences. So you can have like, you go there and you go to this and this and this session, and then somebody goes to different sessions and they went to the same event, but they had different experiences.
I love it. Well, Seth, for one, he loves responding to a bell. So you're going to love this, Seth.
Yes, exactly. So Timo, Sean and I run a private mastermind that we never talk about because it's private. I mean, these are the people that we want to network with and learn from, and everybody's kind of on the same playing field. Like no one has an ulterior motive where they're trying to, maybe eventually sell you something. It's literally just merit-based, just like what you're saying. Who's got the best idea and what's making the biggest difference right now? So that's why I love your format, because that's where I get the most out of like a mastermind or an event or a learning environment. It's like, who's got the best idea? Forget about who can pay the most to be in front of the audience. It is who's got the best stuff and what gets the best results. And like you said, even though it's not as polished as a trained salesperson or a presenter, the best idea wins. And that's why it's so cool. So can you talk about maybe some of the results that have come from this format versus a typical conference that somebody might attend?
Yeah. So, I mean, like, I also go to regular conferences, right? But I think like I get the most value, not necessarily from the talks, but like from in between, the talks, talking to other people and so on. And now this is like, just focusing on the in between the talks, right? And yeah. So that's how typically I think people would describe it. But some sessions are, for instance, I mean, like I enjoyed one. It was about like how to save taxes, and this guy, and this guy, he's not, he doesn't have like a tax advising business. He's just talking from his experience, and he didn't want that to be recorded because he was giving some practical advice and so on, right? So I enjoyed this kind of session. But also, I don't know if Christian also tell me if he's popular in the US. He's popular in Germany. He's like a nerd, talking about like keywords, how to find them, and how the algorithm works. I enjoy these sessions also very much. Yeah. But then, I go to the sessions that I enjoy. So if some people are, I don't know, very much into
Timo, like what kind of sellers come to the Barcamp then?
Yeah, that's a good question, because so we have 2 categories. So one is service providers, and they have to pay a lot, and then we have sellers, and they pay not so much. But in order to qualify as a seller, we need proof that you are a seller. So we check your the link that you provide.
Really smart.
Yeah, because we want actual sellers. So because the thing is, like, if you're just thinking about becoming a seller, then you cannot really add too much value. I mean, maybe you can in other fields, right? But we want 75% of the people to be just sellers, and they need to be sellers. So if it's going to be like 50% people thinking about how to make money on Amazon, and 25% people actually selling on Amazon, that wouldn't quite work. So everybody is a seller, or if they're not a seller, then they are a service provider, but then they pay a lot for it compared to what the sellers pay. And so that means there's naturally less of them. And obviously service providers do add a lot of value too. I mean, it's not like, but it's just, I just don't like conferences where you have like 80% service providers and 20%.
No one does except for the service providers. But then when they get there, they realize that they're pitching other service providers. So it's really annoying. So good job.
Yeah, it's
good
not
job
even in their interest. That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to control that mix. So here, let me control the camera here. I thought we had support. So sellerbarcamp.com/en. We'll put this in English versus Deutsch, right? Or German. And then here's what I love about it. You created this discount code. It's already inexpensive at €249, right? But if you use Post-Purchase Pro, you can get in for just €99. But at the end of the day, you're traveling to Germany. You're not really coming to save money, but Timo wants to put the best offer out there, get as many good sellers as we can. I will be there. I'm going to be pitching a session on, I should keep that to myself, right? We don't want to let that out, but I'll be pitching a session that I hope people will like. Timo, I know that you're also a seller, and we're here to talk about Barcamp today, but as a seller, I know that you're successful with your wooden products. What is your number one advice, actionable advice that you would give to Amazon sellers today entering the fourth quarter of 2023?
I don't know, because for me it's a little different because I'm a producer. So we have a factory in Georgia. This is where I'm actually am right now. So I do sell on Amazon, but I also sell everywhere else. And I sell more on retail than online right now. So I'm not really like the best person to do.
Let me ask you a question that I have. We were talking a little bit about your background before we jumped in, Timo. I know that you're an amazing entrepreneur. You've done all kinds of things that we're not even talking about today. What's your number one tip for an entrepreneur that either wants to grow or become successful?
Yes. Repackage the question.
I don't know, like you just try to do something that's not everybody else is doing. You have to do something special. I mean, like don't follow like a recipe or something. That I don't think that works. So, if somebody says like, this is how to sell on Amazon, step 1, step 2, step 3. So that I think like eventually, too many people will do this. So you have to figure out something. I don't know, like for instance, my wife is Georgian, so that's why I figured out, I can bring the work that's done in Georgia to Germany. And there's not many people that can do that, right? Because, most people either know Georgia or they know Germany. I know both, right? So that's like my thing. And everybody has something like that. And so you should expand on that.
Okay. All right. So before we go, I just want to remind everyone that Seller Barcamp will be October 14th in Frankfort. I'll actually be passing through on my way home from India. So appreciate the invite.
13th. I just checked. Yeah, 13th.
Oh, the 13th. Okay. So October 13th, Frankfurt, Germany. You can sign up at sellerbarcamp.com/en to see this in English. Use the code if you want to, Post-Purchase Pro, to get in, saving €150. You can get in for €99. Timo, thank you so much for all that you do for the industry. I love what you're doing with the Barcamp style. Maybe we can bring some over here to the U.S. Would love to help with that. Any parting words of advice before we let you go here?
No, thanks very much. Looking very much forward to meeting as many of you in Frankfurt and elsewhere. And if you have like some worries, like how's that going to work? If there's no planned agenda, how do I know that there's interesting content? That's how I felt when I organized it the first time, and it works every time. So I'm pretty sure it will work again. So I'm looking forward to meeting you there.
Okay, I look forward to it as well. Again, just be sure October 13th, 2023. So we're talking about 6 weeks away. So my name's Sean Hart. That's Seth Stevens. You just met and said hello to this handsome gentleman, Timo Bach. We'll see you later, Timo. Don't go anywhere.
Thanks, Timo.
Thanks.